the third urban prep school? For the people that don't know about urban prep, let me just tell you off the back, it is the #1 successful school for Black boys. The highest rate of graduation out of any school in America. Did you hear what I said? Urban prep has the highest graduation rate for African American teens anywhere in America. They have a 100% graduation rate every year where 100% of Black boys are going to college. Let me read this to you. A third urban prep campus school is facing an uncertain future and allegations of financial mismanagement and sexual misconduct at the charter school. The Illinois Board of Education is scheduled to vote today on whether or not to revoke the charter agreement for Urban Prep's West Campus, which is Inglewood. If approved, Urban Prep will not be able to operate as a public charter school effective at the end of this school year. The move comes after the Chicago Board of Education voted in October to end its charter agreement with Urban Prep to operate 2 other campuses, one in Bronzeville, where I have friends that work, the other in another Inglewood district. The state has had oversight of Urban Prep's West Campus since 2019. After the Chicago Board revoked the organization charter for the West Campus, citing concerns over financial mismanagement and dwindling enrollment. You know what that sounds like to me?
What does that sound like?
Some BS. Do you know why?
Why? Tell us why.
You're closing the school because of mismanagement of funds and sexual misconduct. When right there in Homewood, a girl was raped for 15 minutes in a class. I will not say allegedly because she was being raped. District 212, right in Homewood, these students were marching out of class. They were appalled, and they have claimed to have sexual misconduct and incidents all the time. You're not talking about taking the school license and closing it. You know why? Graduation rate ain't high enough anyway amongst Black men there. A few years back at Lincoln Park High School in Chicago, there were sexual allegations amidst at least 12 in one school year. Teachers and students, students and students. Across the board, Chicago Public Schools, give me a break. You lead the nation. If you all want to look this up, I'm giving you prevalent information because I used to be a former employee. There is prevalent information that will tell you Chicago Public Schools has the most lawsuits in any school system in America, deeming inappropriate sexual misconduct, verbal and physical abuse. They are leading the nation. And they're not closing the schools with these issues. Go look at how many schools have sexual misconduct allegations and incidents just in Chicago and the Chicago area.
When you think about that, all you got to do is say, because like when you look at a charter school, they don't have like the full support of the Chicago public schools, right? I mean, it's almost like a competition in a way?
No, like, it's a game, and let me tell you about the game because it doesn't look good. I don't have to. This is bigger than what's on the surface, Trey.
I'm just trying
to. I'm going to give it to you.
Where the support will come from.
I'm going to give it to you. Move your mic down a little bit. It's a little frying a little bit, probably because God don't like what you're saying.
With the few words that do get in.
Here's the point. Black lives matter to who Black lives matter to. I just gave you a stat that is kind of, I mean, it's when you have 100% of Black young men graduating every single year, those hats they're wearing, those are the colleges they're going to. This is something we should be proud of. Every year we can count on a school sending our Black boys to college to be successful. And because of some administration issues, which you have everywhere, in every school, I'm here to tell you, there are some embezzled funds, some misappropriated funds. There are some scammers. There are some problems. There are some issues with the budget. There are some underserved schools. There are some schools that they just don't cut it educationally. And they're ran by Chicago Public Schools, and they're not talking about closing them. You mean to tell me you can't swap administrations, or you can't fire the person who was misappropriating the funds, or find a new team to bring in? Trey, this is ridiculous. You're closing the third school with the most successful graduation rate in the nation for Black young men. Something smells funny to me.
Right, yeah, and that's what I'm trying to figure out exactly what it is, because you can say mismanagement of funds all you want, but with a school with that successful of a graduation rate, you there's something that can be done, and it's like, why isn't it being done? That's a big, in the big picture. I think, like, I don't know, I could be wrong. That's why I'm asking you. You definitely know more about CPS than I do. So if a charter school is getting numbers like this and getting a recognition like this, does that make CPS schools look bad because the charter schools in that area have such a high rate of graduation?
That's
So is
exactly
this
what it
just
is.
something?
That's
you- that-
exactly what it is. Let me
Man,
tell you. Let me tell you how bad this charter school, and this is what CPS is doing, because it's all about money.
Yeah, that's
For the people who don't know, let me educate you. Right now, breaking news. I am getting ready to call out Chicago Public Schools. I didn't plan on doing this today. I didn't want to do this today. But I'm getting ready to out Chicago Public Schools. Let me tell you the game, because a lot of parents don't know. They just send their kids. They just send their kids. I'll never have my kids at CPS. I don't care how long I taught there.
That's crazy. Because what
I'm getting ready to expose Chicago Public Schools. Let me tell you the game. For the people who don't know, because a lot of people do. Here I am, breaking news, Frey and Trey, Chicago Public Schools. Let me expose this to you. For the people that don't know, Chicago Public Schools had a problem during the pandemic because they wanted the kids in school, no matter if they're going to be sick or not. You know why? Because everything is about money. The schools are funded federally for your child's attendance.
Yep.
That's why they want them in that class, whether it's overcrowded, whether they're learning or not. That's why they want them in that class with their running noses, whether they're sick or not. And they got even more upset when they found out that you all were getting EBT cards or link cards or food service meal plans, because that's how they get paid. They got mad because they were sending them during the pandemic to the parents' houses, and that money was not being sent to the school. So that, I think they were sending $250 a child.
Yep.
So if you had 4 kids, you were getting $1,000 in groceries during the pandemic for school lunch.
Was going to the schools, but they didn't go to the schools anymore because.
So they were losing on an average, because there's an average of 3 to 4 house kids that go to school together, a household at CPS, $750 to $1,000 just on lunch a month a kid. You do the math, Trey. There's an average of 225 students at every school in Chicago on an average. And that's a low average. Some schools have 600. Some schools have 800. Some schools have 12, especially high schools like Lane Tech.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was just food. They are federally funded through attendance. So if your child goes there, they're getting money for your child being at school every day.
Yep.
Which they should be, because we believe in higher education. But I'm telling you how the game works. Even if your child's sick, the truant officer, they have deans and truant officers call homes down like, bring them anyway. He can sit in my office. It's a money game.
Yeah.
A lot of these schools, these kids aren't learning anything. Parents, if you actually ask your kid what they learned at school today, start today when they get home. What did you learn today? You're going to get the same answer every day. I don't know. We didn't learn nothing. We did what we did yesterday. Not 100% all of them, most of them.
Right.
More exposure.
And that's sad because your kids aren't being challenged at school, which is, it's like, what are you going there for? You just going there for shelter during the day? It's like, what? And that's a whole nother thing.
Good morning, Rose.
It's a lot of ways you can look at this.
I got more exposure to give
a lot of money at the end, which sucks.
I've got more exposure to give you about Chicago public schools, what they don't want parents to know.
Follow the paper trail, right?
Your schools, a lot of Chicago public schools, and some of them are understaffed, which means that I'm not even going to say a lot of them. I'm going to tell you most of them. Over 50%, and the number is probably higher. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt and saying half. Half of the schools are understaffed, which means that your child is in a classroom with 30 to 35 kids with one adult. And if we just use common sense, we know, because if you go to some of these districts, that'll never happen. If you go to these charter schools, that'll never happen. 35 kids in one classroom. And the public schools, they approved it. They say, yes, you can have up to 35 kids. Even in kindergarten. Now, people who have small children or been around small children or have daycares, even daycares have a limit on the number of children they can have in their facility. Packing 35 6-year-olds in a small class for 7 hours a day would drive a sane person crazy. This is why teachers are quitting. This is why teachers, they don't have if you really look, teachers don't have the passion for teaching anymore. It's the school system.
Yeah,
and it's not Lori Lightfoot who broke the school system. The school system was broken before she got there.
Yeah,
it was broken when Paul Vallis was there. It was broken when Barbara Bird was there. Let me tell you something. All your school execs are going to jail for embezzling funds every year.
All right.
So you mean to tell me you're going to close Urban Prep? You didn't close CPS when Barbara Bird Bennett was found guilty of stealing? When Paul Vallis was found guilty of stealing? When other people in line have been, Janice Jackson, many of you don't know, the school CEO, she abruptly quit and moved to Texas, got another job over the pandemic. They gave her, after she gave herself a raise of $150,000. Mind you, she don't teach in no classroom. She don't hand out, she don't do no lesson plans.
Yeah. Can you imagine if the right thing was being done, how different it'll be? If they were allocating those funds to programs and to build up, not only the students, but the teachers, because these teachers go through a lot to help.
Much. Do you know that? Let me tell you how cheap Chicago public schools are. A lot of the materials the teachers need to have a successful classroom, because they have the passion for it, it comes out of their own pocket. They are not reimbursed.
At most, they'll get a tax.
It comes out their own pocket. I'm talking about stuff that's a necessity for your classroom to be successful. So what I want you to do today, I want you to appreciate a teacher. No, it is not Teacher Appreciation Day, but it should be every day.
Right. Yeah, you definitely should.
Why do you think these schools go on strike every year? Why do you think, and you guys, I hear people's comments, the teachers just don't want to work. No, they don't want to work under these conditions.
A lot of good teachers. I know a lot of good teachers that care. They don't have the resources. So
they don't have the resources. Chicago Public Schools lacks so many resources. You go to any of these schools in any district, 202, 212, 213, Homewood districts, Plainfield district, Matson district, Sauk Trail district, who has some phenomenal schools in Sauk Trail you wouldn't believe. All of them have Mac computers. All of them have updated systems. Their Wi-Fi works. The heat in the school works. Chicago Public Schools is still passing out Chromebooks and Dell computers.
Right, low end too. Like because I worked at CPS too before. They get these crappy computers that are not going to be good.
And you're an IT professional.
Yeah, so
you know,
right, and they just sit in the closet because they're no good. They don't have they don't have the proper staff to set them up right, maintain them. So it's just a waste at the end of the day. Like even when sometimes when they say, okay, we'll get to school some new computers, it looked good on paper. Like, oh, we gave that school new computers. But if they're just sitting in the closet because you don't have the proper staff to set them up and maintain them, then what?
So let me say this to the Illinois School Board, because this is a part of voting too, and you guys can vote for your school board. How dare you? How dare you, Illinois School Board? You've already closed 2 schools, one in Inglewood campus, where it's predominantly a black neighborhood. Let's just keep it real. One in Bronzeville, predominantly black neighborhood on the outskirts of where every project used to be, ranging from the Ickeys to the Dearborns to the State Street Gardens to Robert Taylor's, the Ida B. Wells. I just want people to be able to look at what they are.
Hey, look at all those smiles, man. They look motivated. Like,
I mean, you are assassinating the character of these young men. Not just that, you're dream killers. Yeah. The Illinois State Board, I'm saying it right here on Frey and Trey. You are dream killers. When have we seen a group of black young men that look intelligent, are making intelligent decisions? When have we ever had a moment where we have been so proud of our young men? And you mean to tell me that you're closing the campus? I'm in awe. Oh, you're closing it over misappropriated funds, sexual misconduct.
Oh, they're just
all the things that CPS deals with daily. All the things that CPS, you guys have lawsuits up the anus.
No pun intended.
This is public information, people. Go Google how many lawsuits are the Chicago Public Schools fighting right now.
You would think with a school that has a success rate like that oh man, it's sad. It really is sad. It goes to show you that it is about the money. They don't even care about the kids at that point. Like, because why?
It breaks my heart to even.
I'm not gonna act like anything. Nowhere is perfect.
Like I said, Black Lives Matter to who they matter to. I don't have to wear the shirt today. I don't have to steadily reiterate. I'm just being 100 with you people. Black lives matter to who they matter to. Anytime you can make a bland excuse of a problem that exists in every school system, not just school system, problems in every job. Did the Boston Celtics shut down because Udoka had some sexual misconduct? Did they stop games? Did they close the arena? I mean, my girl Nia Long might have changed her locks. By the way, I know this is off subject, but did you see the interview where the person was harassing her coming out the grocery store, asking her about the situation?
Oh, really? No, I didn't. Gee, what's wrong with
She said,
people?
"Hey, Nia, how's your day?" "I'm fine." His next question: I heard you and Udoka were working things out. Is that true? Anytime a woman does this, that's all you need to know. That was her response. He said, "I heard you." And the guy was white because black men wouldn't ask no questions after that. After
Right.
a woman after you say, "I heard y'all working it out," after a black woman goes, that's the end of conversation.
Right.
This is what this guy said. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? She's just like, sir, find you some business and not mine today.
Right.
I have a million things to do. But I'm saying, did they close down because of stuff that happens every day in everybody's office, in everybody's school, in everybody's place? There are even allegations against certain pastors right now at certain churches. They're not talking about closing them. You remove the bad apple and you keep the tree. Why is it so hard or so easy? Let me say it like that. Why is it so easy to not remove the bad apples and knock down the whole tree? Look at the branches of the tree you're knocking down. These successful black men who have a 100% graduation at each urban prep schools. And for those of you that didn't know, 2 schools are already closed. I don't know, Trey. This is a school I would have sent my son to. I don't know.
Yeah, because I think at the end of the day, it doesn't make like they already don't make CPS look good because of their success rate with graduation. And when you got a picture of students looking like that and happy and going to college, I don't think that's a good look for CPS schools with the schools in that same area that are far less successful. But
let me
when
say
you
this. Yeah, go ahead.
And you see what happens when you do give a school the resources and the people when it's a teacher and an aide in a class, when you know that you care, you see that it could be a success. But when you put kids in that environment, you get 100%, but CPS isn't doing that. So it makes them look bad. So they want that school down anyway.
So
right? I mean, because it's really about money and allocation. So
you're absolutely right.
Yeah, they rather have that kid be unsuccessful attending their school than to care about them being successful. But it's not with them, So and they're not getting the money for it, and it's making them look bad.
Here's what's crazy. Chicago Public Schools had the nerve to buy an ad in the local newspaper, and you can go look this up. And then they reported it on the news, and I almost called down to the mayor's office myself and said, "Stop playing games with these kids. Stop playing games with these parents." They were applauding themselves over the pandemic for having the highest rate of attendance and graduation ever, saying that the schools are increasingly getting better. Let me explain something to you.
Okay.
CPS created rules, and a lot of people don't know this. You cannot fail a kid unless they're on certain grade levels. First grade can be retained. Third grade can be retained. Sixth grade can be retained. Eighth grade can be retained. At the time you get to high school, if you turn 16, you don't have the eligible credits, you can be dropped. Now look, that means if your kid is whatever he's doing in second grade, behavior-wise, work-wise, fourth grade, fifth grade, seventh grade, he can get straight Fs and promote. Now I'm exposing this because it's stupid. Parents and I'm not saying all parents, certain parents take advantage of this. They don't send their kids to school. They used to tell me up front when I was a dean, it ain't like you can fail them. They know the rules. They know the system. It's like washing clothes with no detergent and then say, dry them anyway.
Well, right, yeah. That's a good analogy.
Go ahead and dry them anyway. We know they're not clean, but just go ahead and dry them because that's the process. Pass them anyway. We know they didn't learn nothing. We know they were disruptive the whole year. We know they're not at their reading level, their math level. Send them on through. It didn't used to be like that. Money. Money is driving all this. So they say this during the pandemic. The highest graduation rate. They made it illegal for you to fail anybody during e-learning because they said that the teachers weren't properly trained for e-learning. And so they could not count the educational system against the kids during that time. I'm just exposing so you all know what's going on. Some parents know, some parents don't. You should write this down. You should really tell your friends. It's why my kids don't go to Chicago public schools. I worked there long enough to know this is some crap. As a parent, they allow things I would never allow in my home. The way the kids talk to the kids, that's a whole nother show.
Yeah, right.
The disrespect that's allowed for teachers to get at the schools. It's just asinine. 10, 11, 12.
You're right. You're completely right about that.
They get on the news, Trey, and they are gloating about having the highest attendance rate during Zoom sessions. Like, who's going to be absent on e-learning? They're at home with their screen off, granted, because working from home is not really what you want to give a lot of black people all the time, because we will find a way to make our screen look like we in Paris and we at home in our pajamas. Then they said they had the highest graduation rate because they didn't explain to people you cannot fail anybody on an e-learning system. So they had the people who didn't graduate, they either transferred or they perished. They were deceased. And they're giving themselves credit and patting themselves on the back. I said these politics that they play, the way they do the school system, and you all have to understand this. I'm not bitter about the schools. I'm not. Let me explain, because some people say, oh yeah, he keeps saying he used to work there. What happened, Frey? I quit. I resigned. If you go back on my Facebook page post 4 years ago, I thanked the schools. They showed me a lot. I showed them a lot. But I knew at my 12th year of being from an assistant teacher to a music teacher to a dean, my time was up. I spent way more time there than I really wanted to because I was trying to change the culture. They don't care about the passion of the teachers the
You
administrators.
wasn't getting
They
the
care
resources.
about their agenda.
'Cause I believe it's a lot of passionate teachers, and there's a lot of people that would love to change the culture, but the system isn't doing them any favors at all.
Chicago
And
Public School does not have an elected school board, Nature Boy. The mayor can write whatever she wants, pass it to the CEO,
yeah,
and this is why the school is on strike every year. The teachers are overworked, underprivileged, and underpaid. The kids are underworked, overprivileged, and overpaid. And their payment is that they get to do whatever they want. They talk how they want. They show up how they want. A lot of schools don't even implement uniforms anymore because it's just tiring. Kids aren't going to wear them.
oh wow, that's
Public schools, yeah. It's become such a joke, the Chicago public schools, that I'm so glad that I got away from it. And I have friends, former co-workers, plenty of teachers that I'm connected to. And I know they sit in the car before work and they're like, I don't know. I don't give me the strength to deal with this today.
Yeah.
Give me the strength to deal with this today.
And it's some teachers that go to school looking forward to it, but don't have the resources. You know, it's like, how can I overcome my lack of resources today?
And they don't have the resources, and they make them pay for it out of their own pocket, Trey.
Right.
I'm telling you,
Yeah,
if it's not school listed as a resource that they provide, which is usually outdated books and information, you can tell because CPS still uses Chromebooks and Dell's computers. That is a joke. No district outside of CPS, 212, 201, 202, you can go down the line, 198, Sauk Trail, Plainfield, Homewood. You listen to the parents that are on here. They have Mac books, Mac computers. Why is CPS still passing out Chromebooks and outdated Dell computers with the slowest gigabyte service? It's apparent they don't have Comcast at the school. I mean, the internet speed is so slow at every school. By the time the teacher really gets into the lesson, trying to gear up for the internet, class is over.
Yeah,
Someone said, Jason Shepard, it's not just CPS. LA is too. I don't know what that sign is. I don't have my glasses. Is that a bucket?
Oh yeah, somebody throwing something in the trash.
Oh, trash.
Yeah, I think. I
It's. I would guess that it is the public schools system overall in every large city.
About 32.
Yeah, read that, Trey, so the people can see.
Yeah, my brother brought 32 tablets for his class and then got audited twice and won both, but they make it so hard for teachers. That's
the man said, listen, I can't teach. I can't teach because you guys have these outdated computers that are in pawn shops everywhere for $20. Come on, CPS. We're not stupid. We got some smart shoppers here. So this is how funds get misappropriated. Instead of them buying equipment, computers, and let's not even start talking about the heat and air conditioning at schools where kids are freezing in the winter and they're sweating to death. I saw a kid one time, help, during the summer because the air conditioning doesn't work properly. The heating doesn't work properly. So this man goes out and he takes matters in his own hand. I'll spend it out of my pocket, which is what most teachers do. And you audit him.
You got audited
because it's like stay in your place. We're spending our money. These are the words Chicago Public Schools use, and I'm exposing them. So you'll know. They'll always use words like this. Allocated. Appropriated. leisure. Those are 3 words they use. We don't have the leisure to do this and that. Well, these funds are appropriated for certain buckets or certain
Program.
budgets.
And yeah, we have to
Our
allocate funds.
allocated. Our funds are not allocated for that because we do the budget at the beginning of the year, and we can only purchase what has been put on the budget plan for the entire year, which means whatever you need, you have to put it in writing and wait for it to be approved the following school year, even though you need it right then and right there and right now. In other words, buy it out of your own pocket because the money is allocated. We're not at a leisure and it's appropriated somewhere else. Right. Yeah. That's why Barbara Bird is in a federal penitentiary right now. That's why Paul Vallis went to jail. That's why so many other CEOs that have come down the ranks of Chicago public schools have been locked up because of words like allocated, appropriated, and leisure. So parents, when you hear those words, all it's saying is BS. Those are the two letters that are associated with those words, and they will use them every time.
And do you think these people that are in charge of allocating these funds, do you think they get a bonus for coming in under budget? I don't know.
Say that again?
So you think they get a bonus for coming in under budget? Like,
no.
Or having a surplus? Like, oh, we have
no. They're not under budgeted, Montre.
No. If like say Listen.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Like say, okay, we had $150,000 to spend here, but we only sent $115,000. So we didn't have to spend all the money. So there's a surplus.
No. Let me tell you something. Every year for your budget at the beginning of the school years, and principals know this, and administrators, because they do the budgets if their principal allows them to, or assistant principals usually do it because it's something for an assistant principal to do. So the principals are usually at meetings and doing other things. You have to, here's that word again. You have to appropriate and allocate every dollar in the budget and use it up. Or next year they will cut the budget because they'll say you don't need it.
Right. That's what I said.
So there is no surplus. You're missing what I'm saying. There is a budgeted amount that every school gets every year. You have to use the entire amount, or your budget will be cut for the amount you don't use. That's not a surplus. That is saying, I'm going to buy stuff that we don't need just to use up the budget. So next year we can get a raise in a budget and make sure we don't get any cuts, any budget cuts. That's how it works for the schools. So there's an overstock and there are empty classrooms in schools with materials that are never being used because we want to use up the budget to buy $100,000 worth of construction paper, pencils, and staplers. And we don't want to spend it on a science teacher. We don't want to see the budget, the same budget that's allocated for materials and things that the school need, copy machines, computers. And every year, twice a year, somebody comes into school and they do inventory. All the stuff that you bought or purchased with that budget, they make sure it's in the school and not at your house. That's why a lot of people are in prison, because they don't realize that. So when they go around and audit and they're counting, you ordered 300 computers and you only have 250 here. We're missing 50 computers. You have to use that entire budget or they will cut it. But they may increase it if they use it. If you say, listen, we use our entire budget and we still need A, B, C, and D.
Yeah.
But a lot of stuff is just wasted. You know why? Because instead of them using the budget to pay teachers more, they buy some materials that we never are going to use.
Yeah, because
many people have went and used the budget to buy a ticker outside of their school so they can have a lower third. So it can say Chicago Public Schools, come to school every day and learn.
Yeah,
because we're not going to fail you, depending on what grade you're in.
And that's another thing. Like when they do get the money, sometimes they don't even know what to exactly to get, because, and that's a
no. Don't be fooled. These principals, and most of them, and assistant principals have come through, especially the ones that have been principals for decades. They have, first of all, they were teachers first. A lot of them, that you have to have a teacher's certificate. You have to be certified. They came up through the ranks, bro. They were teachers. It's only a few that just, have been able to come in the last couple of years, I would say, that hadn't went through the ranks. They moved in from the networks office because of some stuff going on at the schools. They've been a teacher before. They've have teacher experience. They've probably been in administration. They've probably been a dean, an assistant principal. Usually can graduate to be the principal. They know the ranks. They know the system. But once you know the system, you know how to play the game.
Yeah, that's sad when it's a game when when you're trying to educate young minds and stuff, and it's just a game to people. That's so messed up, man.
Most government agencies are the same. Most government agencies are the same. That's why you have to have somebody you trust to balance the budget. People do this to millionaire artists.
Yeah.
A lot of artists complain about their funds being.
You heard what happened to Steve Harvey? Did he tell?
Yes. I saw the Steve Harvey story where he said, I can't remember the amount, but I want to tell you he realized he was missing $17 million. Is that what it was?
I think it was that. It was at least that. I know it was a very, very high amount. Like something around that. It was a lot of being from this accountant that you trust, and this is how they did it. You remember how they did it? He paid his taxes, right? So the guy, like, he gave the guy the check to pay his taxes, and the check cleared, and instead of him paying the IRS, he pocketed the money. So
and he ended up owing over, what is it, 30 to $50 million of tax.
He like, I paid my taxes. What's going on? He didn't find out because his accountant died, right? That's how he found out after the guy passed away. And that's crazy. Being robbed for years.
So people who have the privilege to balance the budget and balance your budget, and let me just be frank with y'all. When I become a millionaire, I'm gonna balance my own budget. I balanced my budget when I was a brokenaire. I balanced my budget when I was a thousandaire. I can balance my budget now, and I will balance my budget when I'm a millionaire. Because even if I don't want to use the word jag, but here I go. Even if I jag all my money, I know I did it.
Right.
I'm not going to let you do it.
Right.
I'm not going to let you have an opportunity to do it. Yeah. People say, oh, you need a financial advisor. I have grown in a system where I can very well much advise myself. Yeah. And a lot of people, I shouldn't just say black people, but a lot of people get so afraid when they start being blessed and they receive something. And it's like, oh, you need to get somebody to help you with that. How are you going to manage $1 million? First of all, you're going to manage your business. And that's the first note of managing. It's my millions, first of all. So don't worry about how I'm going to manage.
Right. People always deflect what they can't do onto you.
Man, you like, give somebody,
you'll be able to manage $1 million. I'm going to figure it out.
Trey, don't you ever let nobody balance your books.
Right.
If you've got so much money where it's hard for you to balance, just go open 10 bank accounts. And Kanye West learned this fast because he went from Chase to Huntington. He went from Chase to I guess he asked the bank with the Cash App. All of Kanye Zelled all his money to Cash App. $800 million. Chase said, "We don't want you. Let me just." He took it out and put it in Cash App. Poor Kanye. On a serious note, I know we're exposing the schools. Some more people need to be exposed. What's going on with Brittany Griner? We have certainly just lost full momentum in the rescue of Brittany Griner. I mean, Russia's got a whole war going on with, I mean, Ukraine stood their ground. They thought they were going and bully them. They're just throwing missiles, bombs. They've invaded Poland now. What is going on with Brittany Griner? She's moved to a concentration camp last week. Officials are not aware of her whereabouts at this time. They cannot locate her. Here's my problem with the United States of America. We have this election last week. Not one politician is talking about Brittany Griner. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I did a club some months ago. It was disturbing. I should have put the video up because I had a little movement and a little moment in one of my sets, and I said, "Free Brittany Griner," and the crowd started chanting, "Free BG, free BG." A little background story. I met Brittany Griner during the Olympics, during the pandemic in Las Vegas. We ended up eating at the same restaurant in the Aria. And when I tell you, she's one of the sweetest people, down to earth. I mean, she towered over me, and it was like, I mean, she's very recognizable. Like, there's the people, some people that work there was like, is she yeah, she's a star of the WNBA. They had the Olympics same time as the men and the women. If you can see, I posted pictures on my page back then because Zach LaVine was there, my favorite player. And Brittany Griner, she talked to me for almost 30 minutes. We were just chatting it up about different things going on because it was the pandemic. Stuff wasn't really open. It wasn't moving like that. But we were in Las Vegas. The USA men's team was there. The USA women's team was there. I met Bam Adebayo and Eric Spoelstra and Kevin Durant. DeMar DeRozan was there. This is before he came to Chicago Bull. Draymond Green. It was so many of them there. And they were walking around freely because Vegas, it wasn't as packed as Vegas is packed now. And we talked at the Gene Steakhouse in the Aria. And she was just so sweet. And the people I was with was like, celebrities just don't do that anymore. They just don't do that. Yeah. And I had a liking to her so much after that. When this happened, it broke my heart. Because if you looked at the videos and pictures of her, first of all, look at the officers and look at her. They don't even have the space for her to, when you're an athlete and you're a certain height and weight, you have to get certain beds made for you, certain cars made for you. Like, you have to have houses specifically made for your height and weight. Did you see the little cell they were putting her in?
Well, I did see. I mean, I saw the size of the cell, but I didn't see it compared to her height. But you saw that it was a very small. It's really horrible conditions she's going through.
It looked like a lion in a dog cage.
Yeah, it was really.
So some girl at the club I was doing, Trey.
Yeah.
After I got off stage, they were chanting BG, BG, BG. She says, "I don't know why you're doing all that." I said, "Excuse me?" She said, well, she did commit a crime. I was flabbergasted. I was like, I said, yeah, she did commit a crime. But if you look at the records, nobody has ever been imprisoned in Russia from that crime.
Right.
They've all gotten probation and sent home. They gave her 9 years.
Yeah.
And the U.S. is just sitting back.
You hear that there's supposed to be negotiations for a Russian terrorist that that the United States has in custody.
Oh,
Yeah.
the
It's taking way
arms
too long.
dealer. It's an arms dealer. I wish you could
I
find this
feel-
picture and put it up so I can explain this to people. And I don't know if we spelled Brittany's name right. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, I fixed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Trey, look up that picture. It's an arms dealer, a Russian arms dealer, by the way, who is the most dangerous arms dealer in the world. Not just our country, the world. The man, I mean, if you look at Brittany, and while he's finding that, I'll put up Brittany's picture so you can see.
His name is I think his name is
Pull him up. See if you can load his picture so that
Victor Bout.
so the audience can see him. Because it's one thing to talk about the man and give you his accolades and stats and attributes. This man has stats. The most dangerous, he's like the Al Chapo of guns. If you can correlate with that.
Right.
You know, Al Chapo was number one uno numero
Right.
in the drug game. This is like number one in the arms dealer game. We already have a situation where we are facing where we have a problem with guns already. Now you're going to release the number one arms dealer. And when he comes on the screen, whenever you're ready, Trey, you put him up.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get more than one picture of him and put it together real quick. I don't know, this picture's kind of menacing enough. Let me just
I'll take one. Yeah, I'll take one. I don't need a collage of this man. I don't need a collage of him. And so they send Brittany to the consecration camp. No one knows her wherabouts. The U.S. saying they're having a hard time locating her. I just feel like this story is becoming something that her friends are saying last time they spoke to her weeks ago. She was saying like her life doesn't matter. She's lost hope. I'm annoyed with the lack of momentum and the lack of movement.
Yeah, it's very frustrating.
And I'm gonna have to call out Joe Biden because this is on you, man. This is on you.
Here he is right here.
Wait a minute, Trey. Let's go back. The U.S. can release Brittany Griner. Now, y'all know, look at Brittany. Her charge was she had a vape pen of some sort. That was illegal. Nobody ever in Russia has been sentenced to jail, to prison for a year's time for the vape pen.
You got 9 years.
Gave her 9 years of what they give probation to everyone else. But they said, look, man, we'll make a deal with you. You got a guy in custody. He's the number one arms dealer in the world. We need that. We need that. We need that. We need that guy out. He has the Hitler mustache. Do you see this?
Yeah, I mean,
if you look into his eyes, you can see pure evil. Look at the difference between what we're swapping. Somebody who looks and seemingly on the surface looks afraid for their life in this picture. And one who looks like he's ready to take lives.
right. In which he is. That's the sad part.
Get him off the screen. I can't. Like you gotta be kidding me. We've lost all momentum. Joe Biden, and this is a whole nother conversation that we can get into next week. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just gonna be the first to tell you, I am not happy about the job Joe Biden has done. And the Brittany Griner thing, I hate to say this on this show, but I truly know that if someone else was president, she would be home. I don't think Joe Biden has the best negotiation skills. And maybe no senior citizen does. Because Trey, let me tell you what happened to me yesterday. Speaking of senior citizens, I went to Michael's because I was trying to decorate something at my home. I've never been to Michael's, but they had stuff outside. It intrigued me. I said, let me go see what they have. This old white lady had to be all of 80 years old plus. I had on my Kobe Bryant hoodie, Bryant 24. And then, on the front, it says, God is dope. She said, what is that? I said, what is what? She said, what does that say on your hoodie? I said, it says, God is dope. I said it with so much enthusiasm. She said, what does it mean? I said, oh, it's like a slang term for God is great, God is good. It's just something, we say in the younger culture. When something is dope, it means it's great. We love it. She said, I don't like it.
Well, bitch, you ain't gotta wear it. I'm not gonna put something else.
You took the words out my mouth. I stopped and I looked at her and I didn't respond, but she kept repeating it. And she started walking away from me. She's just like, I don't like it. It's not good. Those are words she was using. I wish I had the camera from the store from the Pulitzer. And the lady heard her that works there. She's like, ma'am, you can't make comments about somebody's clothing. She said, it's just not good. I don't like it. And so my spirit caught me before my flesh responded. Because two things happened there. Number one, I don't know if she felt like she could say something to me because she was being the first thought of mine was she's being because I told my daughter when I got home what happened. She was like, oh, you ran into a Karen. I was like, well, she was more like a Corinthia because she was 80. I don't think nobody named Karen in their 80s. This was Corinthia. I said, nah. I said, you know what I think? You know what my spirit told me? It's told me that the older generation has such a reverence and respect for God that they just don't intertwine certain words when it comes to them. And in my mind, I said that has to be what she meant. Because dope to old people dope for old people is a drug. I mean, they're not ever going to get around thinking that dope is something else.
Well, I guess you're right.
And she's like, God ain't no dope. I mean, I wish she would have elaborated and said that, but she was just like, it's not good. I don't like it. I didn't say why not or what's your opinion about it. I was kind of caught in between what she just say and lady, like you couldn't keep this to yourself. I was between that and then me pausing saying, you know what? She has that traditional spirit of just, certain things they don't do. Some people don't think you should swear to God. Some people think you shouldn't say that. Some people, I swear to God. Some people like, oh my God, apologize. They cringe. And this is orange juice, ladies and gentlemen, this morning. It's not a mimosa. I know you see the red cup. And so when we're talking about Joe Biden, some old people, they're just out of touch. That's why we need fresh young, enthusiastic people. I don't want to see two men in their 80s running for president anyway.
Yeah, this.
Somebody said, I'm glad she didn't approach you 7 years ago. Me either.
Yeah, put up side by side.
Now, this is a negotiation issue, Trey. Joe Biden has dropped the ball. And this is what I'm saying about old people. They're just out of touch. If it was his son, Hunter Biden, who we all know on the surface has been in a lot of trouble, how long do you think Hunter would be over there?
You know, one thing I do honestly believe, I think is not only that they're not doing a good enough job to get her back home. I also feel like the Russians don't really even want to make the U.S. look weak, and they're using Brittany Griner as a example. Like, yeah, y'all can't even get her back because they want to make this administration look weak.
Let's just be 100.
As well, I think it's not only that; it's more to it than just that.
I can see that, but you can't make nobody look weak when you couldn't beat Ukraine in a war, and you've had it was your idea. First of all, you sucker punched them and invaded them. They weren't even fighting. Y'all came in blasting, and you couldn't even win there.
Right.
So don't even think about actually, Trey, it's the opposite. The U.S. is actually showing them how weak they are, and this is their only vocal point. But all I'm saying is I would like some type of momentum. All this back room and all this, whatever. When Obama was president, let me give him credit.
There needs to be an uproar about this.
There's not enough uproar. When Obama was president, they located Osama bin Laden. A lot of people forget. The person that George Bush was looking for 2 terms. They located Osama bin Laden. Was this Obama's first term they located?
Yeah. Yep.
And they have a Netflix story about it.